The people have spoken. They've said we've heard enough from Dave and Jamie and Heath. Not necessarily from the host. We like him. He's great. But the other three, we've had enough. We want some fresh opinions. Bring in a real expert. And we said, fine, we'll bring in Joe Pisapia. As Jamie leaves the studio. Joe Pisapia of Fantasy Pros is here. And so is Jamie. Welcome, Joe. Welcome to Fantasy Football Today. How's it going?
It's going very well. I can never get enough of Heath and Dave and Jamie and you as well. I'm wearing my Mike Vrabel costume today. I hope you appreciate it. I realized that when I left the house this morning, dropped my daughter off at school, that I'm wearing like the blue Patriots with the red vest going on here. So you're welcome, America. I dressed up for the show today, Halloween style.
Adam, are you sure you know who's on the show today, though?
Yeah, I think so.
You sure?
It's Jamie and Joe. Yeah. How can I?
Sure
forget?
though.
Yeah, sure, Jamie. Why? Why do you ask?
Just want to make sure that you know who is on the show.
We're really doing this? Oh God. Go ahead. You want to narrate, Jamie?
Sure. So Adam wanted to have Joe on the show, or no? Thomas wanted to have Joe on the show.
Thanks, Thomas. By the way,
wait, who is Joe? Pisapia? Thomas said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh shit, Jamie's on this text. I'm never gonna hear the end of that."
Well, in all fairness, there's a lot of other people named Joe. It used to be a more common name, not so much nowadays. But thanks, Azer. I thought we were friends, all these years. But I'm glad we could expose this here for the public. This makes me feel much better.
I'm sorry,
there's a backstory to this, though, Joe, because Adam forgets everything about all of our, favorite guests. Like we have one of our own CBS colleagues, who's been on with us for probably 10 plus years. Our NFL draft guy, Ryan Wilson. He never remembers the podcast that Ryan's on.
Not true. Stop lying. You're such a lie. Like, at least this time you have text message proof of what I did. But the other thing, like, it was just a joke. No, it was so random. Thomas was like, hey, you want to see if Joe wants to come on? I'm like, wait, like, do we work with a Joe? And that's, who's Joe? I said. So I felt really bad.
Azer, I'm going to give you a pass, even though Jamie's not. First of all, shout out to Thomas, who showed me love. Thomas, right here, buddy. Love it. But Azer, I understand things get a little crazy sometimes, and you're hosting shows. As a host myself, I understand what that's like. Sometimes you're trying to book people and do all these things, and sometimes you just forget. So it's okay. If he said Pisapia and you said who, then we'd fight. Then we'd have a problem, and I would probably delete you from my phone.
That would have been bad. We're going to ask Joe today his favorite free agent move for fantasy, his least favorite. We're going to talk about quarterback or wide receivers with new quarterbacks, guys like Drake London. Maybe he'll have a new quarterback. Tua is going to compete for the starting job with Michael Penix Jr. Jalen Waddle's got a new quarterback. Garrett Wilson's got a new quarterback. Obviously, the Minnesota wide receivers. So we'll ask Joe about that. We'll even talk about DJ Moore. Seems like that's been so long ago, but we'll get his thoughts on DJ Moore going to Buffalo. We're going to ask him how we can find his content in a minute. But Jamie, I want to play a quick game here. I think Joe, if this is the Joe that I think it is.
Here we go.
I think he's a kind of a movie guy. So let's play a game, Jamie. Over under 3.5 of the 10 movies that were nominated for Best Picture yesterday. How many do you think Joe has seen? Over or under 3.5 of the 10?
I'm gonna say under.
All right, I'm going over. Joe, how many of the 10 Best Picture nominees did you see?
I will say this, Azer. Normally, you would be correct. But last year was a very weird year. It was not a great year for movies, just period. I keep trying to drag myself to watch one battle after another. I hear nothing but good things. I'm not the biggest DiCaprio guy. I'm not the biggest Paul Thomas Anderson guy. I hear it's very good. So I'm going to watch it eventually, but it's been a very busy series of coaching football on every weekend and doing MLB content on top of NFL content. So normally, because I vote for the Screen Actors Guild Awards still in my life, because that was my former life, I see all the movies they get sent to me, all this stuff. They've stopped sending them as much. Now they want you to do everything digitally. And, when you have the physical copy, you go, oh, yeah, I got to go watch that. And you put it in the DVD player still, because I'm an old fart, and I'll do that, and I'll still watch the movie. Sinners was very good. I did see Sinners. And I would like to see Hamnet, because I did study Shakespeare in Oxford. This is a true story. But I haven't seen it yet. It's on the docket. I'm hoping to see it this month, so I'm a little behind. So Jamie Eisenberg wins this round.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm putting Shakespeare in Oxford in the notes. We're going to come back to that. Let's just get into football a little bit here. And the Eagles signed Dallas Goedert to a 1-year deal. He has finished he's been in the league 8 years at a modest rookie season. Since then, he's been no worse than tight end 13 per game in PPR every single season, 7 straight season. And he's usually better than that in non or half PPR. And actually in the A.J. Brown era, Dallas Goedert has been a top 5 or 6 tight end per game twice in 4 years, including last season when he caught a bunch of touchdowns. The Titans restructured Calvin Ridley's contract. The Giants signed a couple of wide receivers, Calvin Austin. I think we may have touched on that, but they also signed Darnell Mooney over the weekend. So, Joe, let's get into it. What was your favorite free agent signing or trade? You want to go back before free agency started with DJ Moore. Favorite move, I guess, that we've seen in the last few weeks?
Well, I think my favorite / most important is you either have the coaching quarterback in this league or you don't, right? And the Minnesota Vikings have the coach. I do believe that, but they certainly did not have the quarterback last year. And the J.J. McCarthy situation just did not work out. Had he stayed healthy maybe that first year and he was under center more often and getting more reps, maybe 2025 would have been a little bit different. It was not. And unfortunately, now they have to pivot. So the Kyler Murray signing to me is the most important one because Kyler Murray's in this situation where he has no choice. He has to perform. This is that 1 year show me deal kind of situation. He knows basically his future earning potential is based off his 2026 performance. He's landed in a spot with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, right? It's about as good of a spot as you possibly can with a great offensive-minded coach in Kevin McCarthy. And I just Kevin O'Connell, excuse me. I don't understand at this point why you can't look at this one as the most important one. Now, is it the best? I guess we'll find out. But it's definitely the most important one because if he doesn't succeed in 2026 here with Kevin O'Connell, what happens is then you get relegated to that other bin. And we all know what that other bin is, which is, well, you know, he's going to come in for competitions and we'll see what it is and the former number 1 pick. And this is an opportunity here where Sam Darnold has kind of shown you, hey, look, you could be a former number 1 overall pick or a former top 5 pick. Go in here, get your career back on track and go have success either there or other places. So I think for fantasy situations, Kyler Murray certainly brings a lot more than they've had last season. And hopefully the Justin Jefferson value bounces back big time. Is a great time to buy because I think there's still questions about how Kyler Murray's going to do. And I think when you look back at the history of the Arizona Cardinals, too, I'm sure Jamie will attest to this also. It's been a bad organization for many, many years. There was that little window here and there with Carson Palmer, that little window there with Kurt Warner. But for the most part, this organization kind of is one of the bottom tiers of the NFL. And they haven't done a great job of growing young quarterbacks over the years. That's really never been their MO, right? In the 25, 35 years of, you know, Arizona Cardinals football. So for me, I think Kyler Murray's the most important one. And I do believe that O'Connell is the guy that can go ahead and get this talent right. And I also think that when you give him that many weapons and you give him this fresh start and you give him all these things, it can only go up from there. And to me, this is the guy here where I think everything pivots here now going forward for Kyler Murray. If he succeeds, he has a career in the NFL. If he fails, then you're a career backup and, you know, you might never see Kyler Murray in that same fantasy relevance again.
Do you think he'll succeed?
I'm going to say yes, because I do think it's an environment too with a fan base that's very supportive in Minnesota that I think they're hungry for it. I think last year was very disappointing. So I think Kyler Murray also is probably getting a little tired of all the jokes. Maybe tired of the short jokes and the Call of Duty jokes and then all the other jokes. Like it's time to make sure that you don't become a joke. And I think you kind of start to feel that pressure as an athlete, especially as you mature. You know, when an organization that drafts you and pays you and takes you number 1 overall eventually jettisons you, right? And you know that, like, okay, well, this is my career now. You know, everything might have been easy and I might have all these options and I was a good baseball player and I was a good football player and I had all these things kind of thrown at my feet and now you're kind of thrown out in the trash a little bit. I think it changes your mindset. So I do think he's in the right environment. And KLC to me is one of the best coaches out there. And he's proven that, you know, he's always done with Kirk Cousins. He's always done with Sam Darnold. You know, I thought Daniel Jones, had he gone back there, would have been a really interesting piece too. But at the end of the day, this is Kyler Murray's fork in the road. And I do think that he's enough of a competitor that he will wake up, smell the coffee, and show up here this season and cash in. Now, after this season, we can revisit that conversation because once guys get the big contract and get the bag and get the guarantees, all of a sudden some of the work ethic changes again too. So I think it's very important for him to impress upon this organization or any future organization, hey, I'm taking this stuff seriously. I'm the real deal. I'm a competitor. He's played hurt before too. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. He is a smaller player. We know that. We know sometimes that's, you know, he's played through injuries, shoulder injuries, all kinds of stuff before, because he does take some hits there because he is a mobile quarterback. I just think that these kind of guys, more often than not, do show up in these situations, and I do think he will.
You know what they're going to say if it doesn't work out? Like, it's January and they're reflecting. They're going to say, they're going to say, now is the winter of our discontent.
That's right. Very good. Earl Richard III. So you can do the rest of it. Made glorious summer by the son of York. These clouds that lowered upon our head. Right? You want to keep going?
Yeah, that's okay. One line.
Now in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now with our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarms changed to merry meetings.
This is great. I love it.
Yeah.
Jamie, where you at on Kyler versus Malik Willis? Jamie.
Where am I?
Yeah, you are Jamie, right? I'm not good with names.
Yeah.
Jamie who?
Well, we've had this conversation already. I for right now, for fantasy purposes, prefer Malik Willis, but I do think Kyler Murray is not far behind. I just think that Murray's, to Joe's point, has to prove it at this point. And so does Malik Willis, but I just like the rushing upside of what Malik Willis I think is going to do. I want to see it from Kyler again. Malik Willis could be the best rushing quarterback in the league, and he may have to because of what that team is looking like right now. So NFL-wise, it's not close. I would rather have Kyler Murray. Fantasy-wise, I'd rather have Malik Willis.
All right. All right, let's take a break here. We'll find out Joe's.
I think you're talking about two guys with immense upside if they hit.
Yeah, very different situations, though. And we'll get Joe's least favorite free agent signing or trade when we come back. Now, before we go to break, it's March Madness time. Yeah. Tournament starts kind of tomorrow, but really Thursday. And we have a bracket challenge. So I think we'll put a link in the episode description. I'll tweet it. But if you were in it last year, I'm just going to send a new invite. So, you'll have that. But we have a 2026 Fantasy Football Today bracket challenge. And if you win it, you are in the podcast league. It's free to enter. Just make your picks. It's just for fun. And we hope we get, as many entries as we can. And hope all of you.
You have Miami winning it all?
I don't even know if I'm going to pick them in round one because they're playing Missouri. Miami's the 7, Missouri is the 10. I know nothing about Missouri. The game is in St. Louis. It's such garbage. And I'm not really like a huge like home field advantage. I think it's overrated, but the game's at 10 o'clock Eastern in St. Louis. I just don't like the setup. So I'll take them to win one game. Are you going to take the Gators to win it all?
Of course.
Yeah. Well, you probably should. All right. Joe, you can be in the bracket challenge too if you want. Just
hard pass. I don't do the college basketball. My brain will explode. I can't cover NFL, MLB, and have 2 kids and coach football and still do college basketball. And honestly, I probably should, because probably knowing nothing is probably better than knowing anything. That seems to be the case. So maybe I should reconsider that, actually.
Yeah. So it seems like that answer was not to be. Yes, Joe.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep.
You definitely were at some regional theater. It's community.
No, not regional. Yeah, well, a bit more regional, off Broadway too, a little bit of everything.
You were off Broadway.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Wow, there's so much to learn.
I'm a mystery, Adam Azer, wrapped inside a riddle.
More of this when we come back on Fantasy Football Today.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ hits every highlight from all the sports that matter to you.
JJ, we appreciate your time breaking it down.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With the plays you missed.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And analysis to give you an edge.
All we need is 20 points.
I was shaking in my boots.
Texas, Ohio State, who wins this game?
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, streaming free 24/7.
All right, we talked about the Vikings situation. Joe, what's your least favorite free agent signing or trade?
Here's the thing. I think for the most part, I was actually kind of happy with how most of it went. I'll be honest. There wasn't a lot where I was like, oh, this is just the worst signing ever. I think there's volatility potentially in what the Colts did, which is you've overpaid for Pierce and you've overpaid for Daniel Jones, and they have to now reach that level that you think they're going to. So I think there's danger in that, but there's also good outcomes potentially in that, because I think the first 10 games of the year, you saw the Colts at one point, I think we forget, were the number 1 seed in the AFC. I feel like everybody kind of forgets that. At one point, that's where they were. And yeah, they won some close games, and yeah, some of the bounces of the ball went their way. but they were at that top level. So I can understand the mindset is like, this is our shot, especially for Shane Steichen, who's now been there a few years. He's had different quarterbacks. I think he was kind of on the hot seat coming into last year and things started to work out. So I feel like this was well, you have no choice. Your back's against the wall. You got to overpay and see if you can get it right. And I hope it does, but I think there's a negative side to that. I just think there were a couple teams that I was just very let down by. I thought that maybe we get a fun like Tyler Algier signing by the Denver Broncos. That didn't happen. The Broncos just kind of stood pat, which I know they're very good. I know they're a team that was basically a Bo Nix injury away from maybe going to the Super Bowl this year. And I do think they're one of the favorites again going to next year. But if you're not getting better, I don't know if you're going to keep up in the NFL. I think that's problematic. And I think the Seahawks is very strange because it's like do they not realize that Zach Charbonnet is going to miss the year? Did they not realize how long it takes to recover from an ACL injury? And you let Ken Walker walk? And I understand the reasons why. I understand he had health concerns himself. And, do you want to pay at the highest level for the best game he's had in his life in the NFL and all that? I get all that. But I don't know if Emmanuel Wilson is the answer either. So there was a couple teams that just kind of left me shaking my head. And you also lost your offensive coordinator too. When Kubiak leaves, I'm looking at Seattle. You lost your running back. You lost your other running back. You lost your offensive coordinator. And this was a team also that really ran the football a lot and did everything off of the run too, which took a lot of pressure off Sam Darnold. Sometimes you get a little too big for your britches, and I don't know if maybe Seattle's bit off more than they can chew this offseason. We'll see what they do in the draft. Maybe they want to go in for a Price, or maybe they want to go in for a Mike Washington or somebody like that, like one of the guys I like. We'll see. But right now, like those are two clubs in particular that I think are really good teams, won a Super Bowl champion. I just don't understand what they did. So I think there's more team losers than there were necessarily individual losers the way I looked at it. I'm not sure what Jamie thinks.
Yeah, what do you think, Jamie? Any signings or trades that you just didn't like?
I kind of agree with Joe. It's kind of like almost what you didn't do. I definitely agree on Algier. I think it was a strange destination for him, knowing that just restructured James Conner. And I wanted to see if maybe Trey Benson had an opportunity to, do some things. So that was a little bit of a weird one. Seattle definitely is a little strange. I didn't love Aaron Jones staying in Minnesota. I would have liked to see maybe a full year of Jordan Mason. Not that I think he's great, but at least younger and, had some good moments when there was no Aaron Jones last year in those 5 games. That was one that was a little bit weird. And it's kind of just waiting to tie in the Seattle situation, like to see what's next for either the draft or the guys that are still available. Maybe some guys, available in trade, like Alvin Kamara staying in New Orleans right now seems a little weird as well. So Jacksonville, what are they going to do? I don't know if, signing Chris Rodriguez is the answer there also, similar to Emmanuel Wilson, losing Travis Etienne, who was a big part of what they did for Liam Cohen in his first year. And now you have, kind of a, bigger physical guy. I know there's a connection from what they did in Kentucky when they were in college together, but that just doesn't feel like it's the right move for what the Jaguars are trying to accomplish. Another team that, you could put in the potential favorite conversation, although at the back end of that. But yeah, it's kind of really just, waiting to see, what's next. I also thought, not that Romeo Doubs didn't end up in a good spot, and I think it's a good signing by New England, but it doesn't feel like it was the right finality to what this receiving core needed. So you hope that he's a guy that could take the next step and be that guy for Drake May, but I'm not even sure if he's going to be better, just statistically than what Stephon Diggs was. And so, you're losing a proven guy like that. I don't know if that's the right answer to help a young quarterback ascend and get you over the hump of what we saw in the Super Bowl, which was, not that the receiving core was the biggest issue, but it's not like this made them significantly better.
I think we all kind of agree that the free agency it went pretty well for fantasy values in terms of where guys ended up going. But the one that I really hate, and I like it for the Colts, but I hate it for the Steelers, is Pittman going to the Steelers. I guess I'm still assuming Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback. And, I don't like it for Metcalf because Rodgers can't throw the ball and won't throw the ball downfield. He is quick out of the hands. He's one of the lowest ADOT quarterbacks in the NFL. And it didn't really fit DK Metcalf. I think it fits Pittman better than it fits Metcalf. But the bottom line is like Kenneth Gainwell was, I guess, a big loss in the passing game because he got so many targets. But Pittman's going to do better than Gainwell. And I just don't think they're throwing for that many more yards. I don't think they're going to have a good passing game. So now you have Pittman and Metcalf fighting on a below average passing offense. And I hate it, guys. Jamie, I really don't want to draft either of them. I don't think I'll be drafting DK Metcalf. I think I prefer Michael Pittman. I think he fits better with Rodgers, assuming it's Rodgers. And I'm just not excited about them at all.
They'll probably end up being good values because I think most people probably feel the same way. It just feels very uninspiring. The head coaching hire feels uninspiring. Getting Mike McCarthy, while I do think it's an upgrade offensively to what Arthur Smith was running. And McCarthy, I don't think gets his due for what he's done in Green Bay and Dallas. But it just felt like they settled for an older, also ran type of coach. They settled for their quarterback situation. Probably once again, they settled for not somebody maybe that's a young, exciting wide receiver. They got a guy in Michael Pittman who's, clearly the last 2 years tailed off a little bit. But I do think you get good value on both those guys. And, as potential number 3 fantasy receivers, they can do enough, I think, to help your fantasy team.
I don't know if we talked enough about, we don't have that many. I think there's only 2 that I can remember, right? It's Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers coming off the torn Achilles. And those guys really didn't have a lot of mobility. I'm just thinking about Daniel Jones, and you mentioned it, Joe, overpaying Daniel Jones, overpaying Alec Pierce, but it was kind of rough for Rodgers' first year back from the ACL, from the Achilles. Now,
you're also talking about 2 guys that were in their late 30s.
That's true.
True.
And they weren't
Cousins wasn't the most mobile to begin with. I think we could all agree on that one. But
right.
So the only thing you can look for the Steelers maybe too is just Arthur Smith not calling plays anymore. The predictability of that offense last year was, you could sit there on your couch and really not know much about football and pretty much know what plays they were going to do. Like it was so predictable. So hopefully McCarthy will bring a little bit more of this unpredictability, open up the offense a little bit more. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers has left in the tank necessarily, but it certainly seems like it's Rodgers or bust for the Steelers. I would agree with Adam on that one.
All right. Well, we can come back to the Colts at some point. Let's let me get your thoughts on. I think I was more excited about DJ Moore going to Buffalo than anyone, but Moore. So I asked this a couple of weeks ago when the trade happened, whenever that was. Who would you draft first? DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Luther Burden, Colson Loveland. Who's the first one off the board for you?
Now the fact that you mean DJ Moore is gone. Okay, yeah. Well, theoretically, I think you would have to say DJ Moore because I don't think we have a clear answer to the Bears situation yet. I think there's a lot of cases you can make for Luther Burden. I think you're also not taking into account Rome Odunze's injuries if you just think it's Luther Burden to the moon because Odunze was hurt last year, and Odunze is very, very capable. But the emergence of Colson Loveland in the second half of the season and into the playoffs, too, was very intriguing. And to me, Colson Loveland, I think, is probably the best value in ADP of those guys because I think you're going to see, the early tight end stuff happen and then Loveland will be, right after those first 2 or 3. But it's still a question as to who with the Bears. I don't think it's a question of who when it comes to the Bills. And let's not forget, too, DJ Moore has played with some pretty terrible quarterbacks. We're talking about the Taylor Heineke's, the Will Greers, PJ Walker, Kyle Allen, and he's been productive pretty much with everybody. So I still look, is this the guy that I think is the transcendent wide receiver talent at this stage of his career to this is not Randy Moss going with Tom Brady back in 2007 kind of stuff. This is not that. But is it a massive improvement over everything they have? Absolutely. And I don't think it's even close. So I would go with DJ Moore, but I don't know what Jamie thinks about this. But to me, it's just a matter of, I think the Bears situation is still a work in progress, but we don't know the answer. I know what the answer is, and even though there might be a limitation to what the ceiling is because of the way the Bills operate, I think it's pretty clear who the guy is, and the guy for targets has got to be DJ Moore.
I think you're right. Again, it comes down to, how comfortable do you feel about either of the 2 young receivers taking a step forward, Odunze in year 3, Burden in year 2, and can they ascend to, even more heights than what we saw when they were playing at their best? And obviously Odunze at the start of the season was fantastic. We had like a 2 or 3 game stretch of Burden. I'm with you. I think it's Loveland, just based on what his talent level is. And, those 4 or 5 games we saw at the end of the season, it was 10 plus targets in all of them, including the playoffs, just where he was so dominant and such a factor and focal point of what Caleb Williams was doing. You're also buying into which system you think is going to help elevate these guys. And, Joe Brady's a little bit of an unknown right now, even though he's been calling plays for Buffalo for the last 2+ seasons. But now he's the guy. And so now, does that change what he wants to accomplish with Josh Allen, accomplish with the passing game, getting a guy like DJ Moore, because didn't have that, when he inherited the offense, it was the end of Stephon Diggs. So I think you're looking at DJ Moore, one last hurrah of potential greatness, and by greatness, we're talking about maybe wide receiver 12 through 20 in that range. I don't know if he gets better than that, but it feels a little safer than Odunze or Burden, whichever order you prefer them in. It's also a matter of, does Caleb take a big step forward versus does Josh Allen get back to what he was when he had Stephon Diggs? Is he throwing more? Is he, allowed to now flourish a little bit differently because of now having a proven pass catcher? And look, I don't think the Bills are probably done either. This is still a receiving core that has a guy in Khalil Shakir who they trust. They bring back Dawson Knox, so I think the tight end position is solidified with Kincaid. But they allow, Samuel to leave, which makes sense. They allow Josh Palmer to leave, which makes sense. Keon Coleman's been a failure. They're probably going to add somebody else though, and maybe it's I don't think an early draft pick, but maybe it's somebody that slips through on draft day or draft weekend, and that player can add something to this receiving core as well. So I'm curious. I'm going to probably draft all three in a similar range. When you do so many leagues, you get the opportunity to take swings at different players. Moore is probably the one I'll take first.
Oh, okay. So you agree that Loveland on the value of Loveland, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we're factoring Loveland, I'll take Loveland first, then Moore, then the Bears receivers. And
that's so I think Joe was saying that Loveland will have the best value, but he would take Moore first, unless I'm misquoting.
If I was just going pure pass catching at that point, yeah. Like I'd currently ADP wise, Loveland's going ahead of Moore. I gotta check. I don't know what he is of this morning. Looks like I could go check on Fantasy Pros right now on those ranks, but I would imagine you think they're close right now in the early ranks?
I do.
Where do you have them right now?
I would think they're close. I mean, I'm going to guess we're looking at Loveland late round 3, early round 4 ADP, and Moore probably in the same range, and Burden.
Loveland is at 40 overall right now in the half PPR rankings, and DJ Moore actually, much different, 80 right now in the early overall rankings. That's kind of stunning to me that it's that big.
Well, but how much of that was before the trade versus after the trade? Because
that's fair. You know what? Yeah, it's probably true. Probably people haven't updated rankings and things like that. Yeah, this is the expert consensus, but that's probably the expert consensus going into free agency, and now we're on the tail end of it. So I'm sure everyone's going to do their clean sweeps. But I imagine that gap gets much closer. I imagine it's closer to 40 and 50, maybe 10 to 15 picks apart by the time we get to the end of this month.
Yeah, big riser for sure. Another big riser would be Ken Walker. I haven't asked you about Ken Walker, and what do you think about him? I guess give me a round in a 12-team league in which you draft Ken Walker, and give me a round in a 12-team league in which you draft Travis Etienne. Also, Joe, I'm sorry, I forgot today's March 16th. I forgot to tell you yesterday to beware of the Ides of March. But anyway, rounds for Ken Walker and Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne. What?
I can't do that. No, I'm not. I can't do. I said this the other day on the Tailgates, our new show. We had a big conversation about it. When you come in the league, you have a chance to reset your name. Okay, a million people interview you. There's all this work done on you. That's when you can tell people what your name is. If you want people to call you a certain thing, right? Unless you're changing your name to Meta World Peace or something cool like that, I don't want to hear it. Like, that's your name, bro. You had your opportunity to change it from college to the pros. When you become a professional, that's what it is. And he didn't do it, so now he's Travis Etienne for me. I'm just not going to go into it. Until my producer yells at me that I have to, I'm just not going to do it. Ken Walker, for me, I think, I don't want to completely ignore the years of Ken Walker not being able to be the only guy in the backfield, right? Because I think that would be foolish. I also don't want to ignore what Ken Walker did in the playoffs when he was called upon to be the bell cow guy, and how well he performed in that Super Bowl. And not just well in that Super Bowl, but also against one of the better run defenses in the league. For about the first 8 weeks of the season, the Patriots didn't give up a 50-yard rusher. Milton Williams got hurt. Then eventually you did get that to happen 1 or 2 times. But the Patriots were number 1 against the run for quite some time in the first half of that season. And they were very good. And even when Milton Williams came back, right, you had the playoff run that they had where they really stymied a lot of the run games in the playoffs too. That did not happen with Ken Walker. And credit to the Seattle offensive line. They did, kind of wear everybody down there. I think for me, Walker, my guess is he'll probably go too early for my taste, but I think if I could get him in the 3rd round, I think I'm comfortable there. He's going at the 25th player overall right now in the expert consensus. That feels about right to me, but I can get him in the 3rd. I'm comfortable with that. Travis Etienne, on the other hand, I actually really like this landing spot. Tyler Shuck got better every single week. And I think it was kind of a quiet thing if you weren't paying attention to it. And, a lot of casual fantasy players aren't paying attention to maybe the development of a 26-year-old Saints quarterback, at the end of the season. Maybe there's just not there, something they're paying attention to. He really did. And I think in a lot of ways you could look at him being, I think, a better value at his return on investment. He's going at 44 in the expert consensus overall. So I could see myself having a lot more Travis Etienne than I would necessarily Ken Walker shares, just based off of the pass catching that he brings too. I like Kellen Moore as an offensive coach. And I do think that no matter what Alvin Kamara might want, I think this is the Saints' way of saying, we appreciate your service. Here's a gold watch. We want to turn the page and move on. And I think it's the right business decision, even though it's going to make Kamara unhappy, maybe some of the fan base unhappy. It's the right thing to do to move forward as an organization, too. I think ATN at this stage in his career is a better investment than Kamara is. And I like what the Saints did at the end of the year, and I don't think anyone's talking about it.
Jamie, what's a better value? Ken Walker, 25th overall, or Travis Etienne? Just how he says it should be pronounced. So I'm going to respect it. 44th overall.
I hope the Dolphins and the Saints play each other this year, brother. I mean, obviously, the later you're gonna go, the better the value is going to be. So, for players that, let's assume Kamara's gone and they're both the featured guy on their teams, I probably would lean toward Etienne. But I think right now I prefer Walker. I agree with Joe. I think if he slips anywhere into the middle of the third round, then that's almost a steal. I have him in that range, 23 to 25. I don't remember exactly in front of me. But it's just one of those things where, the Chiefs need to improve their run game. It's been horrible since Pacheco's injury. And they finally go out and they get a guy who's coming off this incredible stretch. You're having, I'm always a big fan of elite people in their jobs having to hit the reset button. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have to hit the reset button after last year's failure. And there's an unknown because Mahomes is coming off a significant injury. But, the fact that you usually hear, man, ACL tear, a month, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever. He's like, I want surgery now. I don't care what the swelling is. You're doing this now. I'm getting back. Hopefully it's not an issue and there's not a setback in his recovery, but we haven't heard anything yet. But I just think this Chiefs offense is going to take a step forward as a whole. I don't know if that means the passing game gets better. That's the one that's a little bit hard to figure right now, but I do think the run game gets better. And you think about Andy Reid and his history of running backs, and we haven't seen it for a while, but obviously go back to his Eagles days. In the Chiefs days, Damian Williams was a monster, for stretches. Pacheco was a monster for that brief stretch. And now you get this guy who's still 25, who's coming off this run, who, when healthy, has been explosive. And I think because of Mahomes and the injury, we won't see him run as much. We might see a little bit more involvement in the passing game for Walker. I think that's huge for him. So I'm excited about both. If there's any, gap closure between the two in terms of value, it's definitely going to be Walker.
To Jamie's point too, Adam, it's been a long time since the Chiefs have had a 1,000-yard rusher. Do you know how long, by the way? We did this on my show the other day. I tested the boys.
I think so. Yes. 17 or 18.
17, Kareem Hunt. So it's been a long time. I mean, that's almost, we're going, it's 2026 now, kids. I know we get old fast, but that's been a long time since the Chiefs have been able to really commit to that run game and get somebody over that 1,000-yard threshold, even with the expanded, season, regular season game now. It's just crazy to think the once, you want all those Andy Reid running backs. In the last 10 years, not so much.
No. But Pacheco, 2 years ago, 2023, Pacheco was 15th overall, 14th per game. He played 14 games. He was on pace for 249 carries, which I hope we get more than that for Walker, and 53 catches and 11 touchdowns. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. And this was why I wanted so much of Pacheco last year, because in 2024, when he was coming off this 2023 season, he was being drafted in the second round. His ADP was the second round. So people bought into Pacheco as the Chiefs' lead running back. So I definitely think they'll be able to buy into Ken Walker as the Chiefs' lead running back. I know Pacheco I just don't think he was right last year. Whatever the situation was, he didn't have a run longer. Never run longer than 16 yards all year. But it hasn't been that long since we've at least seen a top 14, top 15 running back from the Chiefs. All right, we got to take a break. We got a lot more free agency questions. We'll go rapid fire when we come back with Joe and Jamie after this.
Mr. Richard?
Yeah, Doc.
Unfortunately, Mr. Nibbles crossed the Rainbow Bridge moments ago.
He was the best hamster I have ever known.
I know this is a difficult time for you, but would you happen to know of any deep stash dynasty tight ends I could zero in on for my draft tonight?
Jatavion Sanders.
Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss.
And we are back.
I'd like to work with Dave Richard as an actor now after watching that commercial. I just want to say, I mean, I think I can get a little bit more real raw emotion out of Mr. Nibbles' death. I'd like to go back and revisit that project.
We have, if you notice here, we have a guy in the chat, we have someone in the chat, Ghost of Mr. Nibbles. And he's
yes,
it was the best.
That's a great commercial. That was great, by the way.
Yeah, and if you're listening, there's a commercial. I don't know if you've seen it. If you have watched any of our YouTube videos, a commercial of Dave a couple years ago at the vet, putting his saying goodbye to his beloved hamster, Mr.
Is that the better one, or is the other one when he's lifting weights better?
I think this one's better, but it's so funny. Anyway, Mr. Nibbles.
The other one, Joe, is of him bench pressing. And a guy, he asked for a spot, and the guy asking for fantasy advice during a spot. But the best part is that Dave has his shirt.
I like this. This is fun. This is good. Yeah. I can help him with the bench press too. Yeah. I want to see what's Richard's max nowadays. What's he up to?
Oh, I don't know.
110? What's he? I love you, Dave. I love you.
I've been meaning to make this joke about Etienne and Etienne and Joe, and I'm just gonna. What's in a name? Right? What's in a name?
A name rose by the other name would smell as sweet.
Exactly. All right. We're going to do the rest of these free agency questions at ludicrous speed. We'll get an answer and then a quick analysis from Jamie and Joe. Wan'Dale Robinson, Mike Evans, Romeo Doubs. How do you rank them, Joe? Wan'Dale Robinson, Mike Evans, Romeo Doubs.
I'm going to go Mike Evans 1, but I will say this too. Man, that San Francisco situation scares the heck out of me. Just saying, I'm going to go Romeo Doubs 2 for now. I still believe June 1st that A.J. Brown will be a New England Patriot because I think it works for all sides. And 2027's draft is theoretically much better and how he wants those picks. And I'll go Wan'Dale 3rd because it's still the Titans. And even though he might be a great PPR guy, I think I'm going to go with Wan'Dale in that 3rd because I think you have to take the upside of what the quarterback play is in the first 2 into account a little bit more when it comes to Wan'Dale as a 3rd. But all think fantasy viable. But I'm where Jamie is too. He mentioned before. Doubs, I like the signing. I don't love it. Like if that's the only thing they do is a 2, great to an A.J. Brown, but it's just the only upgrade in the wide receiver core. Not good enough for me.
Jamie, how do you rank them? Wan'Dale, Evans, Doubs.
Same way.
Okay. Evans, Doubs, Wan'Dale. And then Jamie, real quick, I don't want to skip over it. What do you make of the Calvin Ridley restructuring him back with the Titans?
I mean, look, it makes sense to have another veteran guy there, with DK and Io Manor, there's potential, but I don't think either of those guys is necessarily even a 2. So can Ridley get back to any semblance of what he was earlier in his career? We've been chasing this now for a while. This is another receiving core. I feel like it's not done, so I hope there's another addition being made. But look, Ridley was terrible last year. He was banged up. He's been banged up and terrible since joining Tennessee. So part of that has been poor quarterback play. I think, Cam Ward certainly took a step forward toward the end of last season as well. Another guy similar to Tyler Shuck that nobody really paid attention to. But Wan'Dale should command targets, especially since Daboll's now the play caller.
All right, next up, Michael Pittman or DK Metcalf. Joe.
I don't like agreeing with Adam, but I'm going to agree with Adam on the assessment there that I think I'd rather have the steady Eddie of Pittman potentially in that offense for what it's going to be than the up and down DK Metcalf. I'm not trying to pin everything on DK from last year. I want to pin most of it on Arthur Smith. How that guy keeps getting jobs, I'll never know, but he does. He must be the nicest guy on the planet, I guess, to work with. But I'm going to go with Pittman here on this one too, in theory, with Aaron Rodgers as QB. If he's not, that calculus might change.
Jamie, you're in this too.
I still go Metcalf, but they're close. Again, I just think that what Metcalf will do from a touchdown standpoint will help his fantasy production a little bit more than Pittman, maybe from a reception total. So it's still a discovery phase for this offense because we don't know who the quarterback is. So we'll see how this all works out. But again, I don't think there should be so much separation. And my guess will be ADP will still favor DK Metcalf by a significant margin.
Comment from the chat from Aaron Johnson. Disappointed that Joe didn't do some Shakespearean take on Romeo Doubs. Total missed opportunity.
I apologize there. I actually did play Romeo when I had hair back in the day, believe it or not, but I was a Mercutio the second time around. Much better, much more fun role. You get to fight more, which was really great, and then you got a great death scene on stage. So you gotta take that one.
Thanks for spoiling it, bro.
What?
Jeez.
What?
I was gonna watch that or read that or something.
You didn't go to high school, Azer? You just went for that GED? Is that what happened?
No. Adam was also in theater.
But he just didn't
I have a theater degree, Joe.
See, then that's what happens. All of it. What you do is you get a theater degree somewhere, like Adam and I, and then you get your own fantasy football podcast someday. That's the path to success, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you do it.
Yeah, we spell it R-E. That's how you know you're legit. T-H-E.
Oh, and I do. And see, the earlier thing, how we opened the show where you didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
Now the fact that you're an R-E theater speller, you've just gone up in my book. So you totally, in the words of Dumb and Dumber, you've gone and totally redeemed yourself here.
But Joe, there's a difference though. You were on stage. Yeah. Adam was like the third stagehand. So
I sold tickets in the box office, Jamie. Get it right.
And yeah, that's fine. You got to sell the tickets too. Everyone has their part. All the world's a stage, Jamie, and all the men and women merely.
I just saw a great show this weekend.
Oh yeah,
my nephew was in a great adaptation of The Drowsy Chaperone.
Oh, very nice, excellent. See, very cultured here on CBS. Very cultured.
Had you heard of The Drowsy Chaperone before this?
I have heard of The Drowsy
Chaperone. Yeah, but Jamie.
Oh, Jamie.
But my nephew was again in chair. He was.
And did you stay awake the whole time for The Drowsy Chaperone? There you go. That's all that matters.
All right, back to the rankings here. Isaiah Likely, Travis Kelce, or Dallas Goedert? How do you rank Likely, Kelce, Goedert, Joe?
I think that's going to be my order too. I'm just going to go on a limb there with the Likely signing there that I really like Dart. I think that if we're taking somebody with us, that means a lot there for the coach, right? If you're taking players from your other team, you have a plan for them and how you want to integrate them into your offense. Travis Kelce's an older player. We're going to miss time. Like, I don't care what anybody tells me. There's no way Patrick Mahomes is ready week one. And if he is, that makes me even more concerned. So we're at the end of the Kelce run here. So I probably will take my shot on Likely and Goedert. As of right now, the way this team is structured too, in the age of Goedert, I'm just kind of, again, like, you can always have him. I always feel like he's just one of those free guys. So I'd rather take the shot on one of the other two. But I think Likely's my 1, Kelce's my 2, and Goedert would be my 3.
Agreed.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at us. Lockstep. Well, we always are. This is why I hate drafting against Jamie, because we see the players pretty much the same. It's the worst.
But it's good because if you draft on CBS, you'll have his rankings right there. Like who.
I always do. And in every league I'm in with him, I switch to his ranking, so I know exactly when he's going to take who. So I know how early I have to take somebody I like. That's the problem.
All right, I'm going to give you guys wide receivers with new quarterbacks, or in the case of Drake London, potentially a new quarterback. Like I said, they're not going to just give the job to Tua. He's going to compete. But just tell me, do you like the situation? Is it an upgrade? And I think I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say the Minnesota wide receivers, but it's obviously an upgrade over McCarthy. Will it be an upgrade over the 5 games from Wentz? I don't know. But how about Jalen Waddle? Let me just give you a quick stat on Jalen Waddle. If I have like 6 documents open here and I can't find the wide receiver one. All right, Jalen Waddle. So let's just take a look at what he did without Tyreek Hill last year. So that was weeks 5 through 15. He got hurt in week 16, played 25% of the snaps. Those were all with Tua. He barely played with Quinn Ewers. But in that stretch, Jalen Waddle in half PPR was wide receiver 19 per game. In full PPR, he was wide receiver 20 per game. He was on pace for 71 catches, 1,110 yards, 7 touchdowns on only 114 targets, but they only averaged 27 pass attempts per game from weeks 5 through 15 after the Tyreek Hill injury. So let's just say Jalen Waddle is wide receiver 20 per game. Over under, Joe, 20 per game for Jalen Waddle.
Well, right now there's nobody else, so I'd say over slightly potentially because of just the amount of sheer volume that they'll need. I just don't think the defense is great, and they're playing in a tough division, so I can't imagine game script always going their way most weeks. You're going to have to be fighting, I think, tooth and nail. So I'll say over, but in terms of the ranking of the 3 you've got there, is that what you want me to go through? The
no, we go one by one because I know.
Okay, one by one. It's about health for Waddle. I mean, right now at this point, and I want to see what they do in the draft also too, because I think it's clear that Miami is stripping everything away, which is probably a good idea. It's probably what they need to do, but I don't know if they've built up enough to, or I'm just super excited. Jamie mentioned earlier Malik Willis. Yeah, the rushing equity is going to be there, but I have massive concerns about this wide receiver group, especially because the main guy right now is Waddle, and Waddle health wise has not been a guy you could really count on the last couple of years.
Jamie, over under wide receiver 20 for Waddle.
It's a slight over 18, 19. I think that's kind of where he is. He'll be one of those guys that you'll, I don't want to say reluctantly start each week, because you won't get a lot of huge games, but you'll get a lot of consistent production, so those weeks where he gives you those 7-8 touchdowns, you'll be thrilled. We're probably talking about maxing out around 70, 80 receiving yards per game. I don't think the target volume will be there enough where you'll be like, oh, this is a league-winning type of player for me. And again, Malik Willis, as Joe alluded to, still has to prove himself as a passer. He was good a couple games with Romeo Doubs, so that's encouraging. I do think, though, if you look at it, yes, they still probably address the position in the draft, but it's Waddle, it's Malik Washington, it's Jahan Dotson, and Tutu Atwell. Like, that's the group right now, and it's pretty bad. So if this is what they're doing, the targets will definitely go to Waddle's direction. It's just a matter of how much they'll throw the ball. So I do think you are getting a good player. I just don't know if you're getting a great player.
Okay, how about Drake London? And he's been great with Penix. He's been bad with Cousins over the last 2 years. He had a stretch. Drake London had a stretch. Got off to a slow start, weeks 1 through 3. The next 6 games before his knee injury, he was averaging more than 24 fantasy points per game. He was the number 1 wide receiver from weeks 4 through 11. Then he got hurt, was terrible in the last 3 games, coming back from the knee injury. If you just look at weeks 1 through 11, including that slow start, number 3 wide receiver per game behind, I don't remember the order in those weeks. It was JSN or Puka and JSN. So that was Drake London with Michael Penix last year. Let's say it's Tua. Top 12 wide receiver? No, I think everyone's going to draft him top 12. Top 8 wide receiver, you think, Drake London, Joe?
Oh, definitely. He's ranked 6 right now, and I think that's just about right because of that unknown circumstance. Like, is it Tua? Because we don't know what that is, what it looks like potentially. I think it might be Tua, to be honest with you. I think, Stefanski, when a new coach comes in, they tend to want to bring in whatever they want to do. And I'm sure he went in there thinking, all right, I've got something here with Penix. I'm sure I can work with it. But obviously, they wanted to get some other pieces there potentially to see if maybe there was a backup plan or a plan B, and Tua is that plan B. Tua not only was that good, Drake London was not only that as good as you said those first half of the season, but think about this too. When he came out of the bye, he was wide receiver 1 2 weeks in a row at Indianapolis, and I think it was at New England as well, right? So 2 road games he was out there crushing life as wide receiver 1 on the game log. I love Drake London this year too, whether it's Penix, whether it's Tua. I think maybe if he takes a little bit of a stock down because of the question mark about Tua, it's even a better situation to buy him. It's unfortunate we got the injury last year where he missed a chunk of time, but I definitely think it's top 5-ish material even for him right now. I know he's 6 overall, so definitely top 8, maybe even top 5 as well. That could be in his range of outcomes.
I agree. I think, we're looking at the version of Tua we saw in 2025, and he was bad. This is also the same guy. I know totally different wide receivers. He got consecutive seasons out of Tyreek Hill of 1,700 receiving yards and 7+ touchdowns. So he's got the ability to support a high-end wide receiver. And I think the way that he plays with a receiver like Drake London, who's going to win contested catches and going to win in using his physicality and win in hopefully anticipation, that's what Tua kind of thrives on. So if Stefanski's offense is what it has been, he's been able to support multiple pass catchers, tight end, and usually somebody else. We saw it at the 2024 season with Jerry Jeudy, remember, with Jameis Winston, for example. So London is probably, without checking this, the best receiver that Stefanski's ever coached. And so now you have this quarterback who, if he's healthy and right, can I think help him and help London still succeed and succeed at a high level. So my guess is Tua starts. You give Penix an opportunity to sort of work his way back from the injury, and there's a chance here for Tua to help still support London. For me, is a top 5 wide receiver. He's 5th in my ranking.
Yeah, I tweeted that from 2022 to 2024, the top 3 quarterbacks in passing yards per game were Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah. Oh, whoa. Got to trade.
Jets just broke some news, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen. I
Justin,
was just verifying it just to see. Yeah.
Justin Fields to the Chiefs. Okay. Yeah.
You have to say pending physicals now, though, don't you? I feel like, Adam. Like now, after the Max Crosby thing, I think we have to
go back to that. Yeah.
Pending physicals, everybody.
Yeah. Pending fan reaction.
Pending fan reaction, and whether or not there's somebody better out there that we like more at the last minute.
Anyway, yeah, Tua has been really good, but I think what's so interesting from a kind of a nerdier perspective on this is that Drake London is so different than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And when you look at Tyreek Hill and Waddle, like the 4 years of Hill, Waddle, Tua, the first 2 years were great for both of them. The last 2 years were not. And if you look at the yak specifically, and you think about the Dolphins offense, right? It's a throw. It's like a timing throw over the middle. And then, right. And then you've got Waddle and Hill, who have great speed running after the catch. Also had a lot of deep ball success. Those two things are not really Drake London's specialty. He's not a burner. He's 6'4", right? He's not the fastest guy. He's a great contested catch guy, more of a possession receiver. He's pretty borderline bad with yak. It's just not his game. Like, what does that mean if it's Tua? Like, that doesn't really fit what Tua did with the Dolphins. I wonder if, I know like we're kind of over Penix, like maybe like just from a football perspective, even though it's probably a little unfair. He's had some really good moments in his young career, but I think I'd actually rather prefer Penix with Drake London. I know that Penix, assuming he comes back, he's pretty healthy. Like he will find Drake London. He will target the hell out of Drake London, and it's been a really successful connection. So you just give me a one-word answer. Which quarterback would you rather have for Drake London, Penix or Tua?
Penix.
Jamie?
Tua.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Garrett Wilson with Geno Smith. This one I think is debatable. Garrett Wilson or Jalen Waddle? Who do you like better, Joe?
As a player, Garrett Wilson.
As a fantasy.
As a fantasy asset?
I think both of those are debatable, actually. But
look, I mean, it's just, this is really tough because I mean we're a Geno Smith 2.0 in New York. I mean, Jet fans, you're allowed to just walk away. Like they always tell you, especially now on every reel you watch, toxicity, abusive relationships. Like you don't have to do this to yourself anymore. You can walk away from the Jets. It's okay. You can find love with another organization. You deserve better in life than to spend it rooting for this team. And this is coming from a guy from New York who is not a Jets fan telling you the grass is definitely greener. Okay. I'm lucky I made good decisions as a youth. And I know some of you have had this forced upon you. This is abuse. Get out of it. The problem is I like Garrett Wilson more. The problem is I think Jalen Waddle will be better, so I'll probably put my stock in Waddle. But I'll tell you what, the early rankings suggest Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 16 and Waddle at wide receiver 24, and that makes my head hurt. Like, to tell you the truth, like, just crazy.
Jim, we're doing a draft tomorrow, right? I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Can make it in the afternoon if you wouldn't mind. I wonder who's going to go first. Who would you take first, Waddle or Wilson? Or sorry, that was it, Waddle or Wilson.
I'd still take Wilson first, but they're close. As Joe said, wide receiver 16. Like I said, Waddle's probably 18 or 19, so I don't have them, that far apart. I just think you're looking at what Wilson was able to accomplish at the start of last season before the injury with Justin Fields. While Geno is who he is, I think he's a better passer than Justin Fields at this point still. So I'm hoping, similar situation where both these guys are going to get fed targets. I just lean toward the talent. I think Wilson's a better talent.
So let me ask you a fan etiquette question here, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Jet. Let's say, someone's a Jets fan and you just inspired them to break up with the Jets.
I hope so.
They didn't pick a new team or anything. They're just not going to get into the Jets. They're just whatever. They'll put the game on, but they just don't care. Not wearing the jersey on Sunday. Certainly not going to a game. 4 years from now, they win the Super Bowl. How much of that Super Bowl can that fan claim? Like, yeah, we won. Are you allowed to say that?
No, but you don't have to worry about it because 4 years from now, they're not winning a Super Bowl. 4 years from now, they might not make a playoff game. Okay. You don't have to worry about these things. That's the best part. Is like once you walk away, I mean, could you imagine saying that 10 years ago? Like, hey, it's okay. You could have walked away. There'd be no regrets, right? Imagine what a glorious decade of life that would have been, a joy. And when you find your new team, let me just tell you, look for good ownership, look for good coaching and structure, look for good historical relevance in the NFL. These are the pathways to take you to. And I know the NFL is very divisive. Like you don't like this fan base, you don't like that fan base. But you know what? Again, everyone deserves to be happy in life. And I think if you've given 20 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus years to this marriage as a fan, I think it's time for a happy divorce and you move to some 55 and over community with a team that makes you happy. Okay.
I gotta say,
see, Adam's in this point in his life right now, though.
No, listen.
Well, maybe I can bring him back.
The Jets, I think now would be, if you were never a Jets fan, now would be a good time to buy in. Obviously, they're going to be terrible.
Why? Because Aaron Glenn's not going to get fired next year?
He is, of course, going to get fired. They've got picks 2, 16, 33, so they almost have 3 first-round picks this year, and they have 44. They have 4 of the first 44 picks. Next year, they have 3 first-round picks in a loaded draft. They have their own. They're going to be horrible. They might be the worst team in football. They have the Colts, who could be that could be a top 15 pick. They have the Cowboys. That could be a top 15 pick. Now, maybe those picks are 25th or later, but they actually have an amazing opportunity to reset their franchise with their next 2
You're
drafts.
adorable. This is adorable. You're assuming that the Jets can make good decisions. This is the same team that took Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino. This is the same team that took Browning Nagel. This is the same team that continued to make pick after pick and bad decision after bad decision with all these top picks that they've had all these years because they've been so bad. They don't know what to do with these picks. It's like in Tommy Boy when he's holding the dinner roll at the restaurant and he's like, and I don't know what to do with it. I love him. My pet. Like, I don't know what to do with it. And I just smash it all to pieces. The more picks might be worse for the Jets. They should just trade them all for players that actually play football well because their decision-making process as an organization certainly has not been great. I think in the last, I don't know, my lifetime. I'm going to go with that, Adam.
Oh, you've seen them go to a few AFC Championship games. I mean, the Rex Ryan era.
They did. They had a 2 glorious year run there. And I also remember a butt fumble shortly thereafter and it all crumbling apart. So,
yep.
Someone we were talking about this. I don't remember who I was talking about Warren Sapp with. Oh, I remember. And he was his kids in college. He's a Jets fan. He said his dad,
Warren Sapp.
His dad was talking about Kyle Brady over Warren Sapp. That was like,
oh, I mean, Johnny Mitchell. I mean, come on. The Kyle Brady one's a good one too.
Warren Sapp went 12th. How did Warren Sapp go 12th?
Because there were questions about him as a human being.
Wow. Yeah, man. He was
and
nice
some of his antics. The
U
U was a dangerous place, Adam. Ask Jamie. He knows. He was crazy down there back in his youth. He's hanging out with all those guys. They were on the yachts together. He knows. He was rolling hard.
No. The yachts. That was long after. I don't think Warren Sapp was in the yacht era. Warren Sapp was that was a little bit. Yachts were after that. All right. Anyway, Joe, tell us where we can find your content.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. I love you guys, and it's always fun hanging out with you all. You can find us over at Fantasy Pros, obviously. We're doing NFL stuff all the time still. We've got our NFL mock draft shows, and we've got a new channel, too. It's just an NFL talk called The Tailgate on YouTube right now. So if you like just football and fun, and that's what we're doing, it's like, kind of the way we were just sitting around having that last conversation. It's like a whole show of that, basically, where we're talking about the news of the day, what's going on. We might talk a little fantasy, we might talk a little wagering, but really it's just NFL talk, just general stuff there. And we've had Trevor Sycamore from PFF on. We had Laquan Jones from NFL come on the last 2 shows to open it up. So it's on YouTube right now. It's called Tailgate NFL. It's out there right now. So go subscribe. It's a brand new channel. So we're trying to support that because this year we got a lot of big plans for it, a lot of fun stuff in season 2. It's going to be wild and fun and a good time. So go check that out, please. And again, good to see you guys. And Adam, I appreciate you as a theater camaraderie person too. I feel closer to you after the show too, knowing this about you. And Jamie, I always feel close to you because we live that travel ball lifestyle.
That's right.
That's a different lifestyle.
Yeah. Just letting you know, and there will be no follow-up to this, but I absolutely hate theater. So anyway, another question for you. If Italy wins tonight, who are you going to root for in the finals? USA or Italy?
I'm sorry, Italy captured my heart. It's the greatest.
Woo!
It's the greatest bench celebration ever. You put that Armani blazer on and you take that espresso shot, it hits you right in the feelings. It's a whole different thing. it's just I like the underdog too. It's always one of those fun things, and I look at these guys in this team that just shouldn't be there, and they keep beating these really good teams. They beat Japan, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. They beat the U.S. I know maybe the U.S. didn't know what day it was or whatever the hell is going on or what the situation was. I don't care. You know what? I say this to all the teams I coach. You can only beat you only play who they put in front of you, and that's it. And you go and you give everything you've got there. It's just fun. And the WBC baseball, the World Series was great this year. WBC baseball has been electric. All these games, the tone, the way the players are excited for them, the crowds, it's been fantastic. I want to see WBC. If there's a lockout next year, I want to see WBC on TV all summer. Best 4 of 7 series between all the two countries. Play a big giant tournament. It'll be fantastic. It'll get huge ratings. I don't know if they'd be allowed to do it. I would watch every single game. It's been so much fun, man. Even if you're like, baseball, whatever. If you don't like WBC, I feel like you're dead inside.
I love it. I mean, I was more excited for yesterday's game than I was for the World Series a few years ago. Maybe not, because I was for the Yankees, Dodgers. Because when I think it was when Bednar was pitching in the 7th, I want to say, and they had 2nd and 3rd and 1 out or something. I'm thinking like, man, if they lose, I won't really care. So maybe this isn't quite Yankees level for me, but it was close. And I gotta say, I feel kind of gross about how they won. Like, it's not their fault, obviously, but it sucks.
Oh, the 2 calls?
It really sucks. I mean, those were bad calls. The Soto one was really close. The strikeout in the 9th inning was not as close. It's a shame that it came down to that, but
speaking of that World Series, you got to be a little watching Aaron Judge play defense.
Oh my God, what a throw!
That's got to piss some people
and the catch.
off. Yeah.
Which catch?
He had the diving catch running in.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. Must have missed
He
that.
did have a little misplay out there too, though. He took a bad route to a ball, but
he's a very good fielder.
He hits 50 home runs.
Good right fielder. I think last time I feel like last time we had you on. No, not last time we had you on this time of year. Right before baseball season. Soto had just gone to the Mets. Soto was about to start with the Mets, and I asked you Soto versus Judge. What a ridiculous question. So
I don't know, man. Soto stole almost 40 bags last year. I mean, Soto's like the 3rd or 4th player going off the board. Judge is the 2nd. I mean, like, how far apart are they? I'm just saying, closer
quite
than
far.
You think.
Well, just
quite
in terms
far.
of their real baseball value, quite far. All right. Anyway, that's you can see how much I know about fantasy baseball. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, Jamie.
This is the guy I share a fantasy baseball team with. Love it.
We're terrible. We'll talk to you on Wednesday on Fantasy Football Today.